Hey, I'm back, everybody, and boy, did I pick a good week to make a return to the old PFP. The green and gold were victorious over the Rams, and I'm excited to discuss it with Wayne and to hear from all of you listeners as well. We'll look ahead to our next challenge against the Steelers. All this and more coming up next on your Packers Fan Podcast.
Thanks for joining us as Season 13 of your Packers Fan Podcast rolls on. This is the unofficial podcast by and for fans of your 13-time NFL champion, Green Bay Packers. And me, I'm Wayne Henderson, and it may not have been the prettiest win ever, but I got to tell you, I am still overjoyed at the victory.
And hey there, PFP listeners. I'm Scott Clark from the Gaming Outsider Podcast, and it sure felt good to knock the dust off my good old victory tie this morning. That thing was feeling pretty lonely up on my tie rack. Here's to hoping I get to wear it again soon. This is episode number 284 of the Packers Fan Podcast. We'll recap what we loved and maybe some things that we didn't from the big win over the Rams. Listeners, thank you for your feedback. Wayne and I will be sharing that in just a bit.
And then next up after that, the Packers are heading to Pittsburgh to play the Steelers. We'll preview that game for you as well. And of course, Scott, you will have your keys to a Packers victory. I'm glad Troy was able to fill in for you last week. Did a solid job, had some good keys, but it's so good to have Scott back behind the mic. I see you on the StreamYard. All is well. Things going okay?
Things are going great. Shout out to Troy. Thank you so much for filling in for me last week. Obviously, I needed some time away, had some things to take care of, obviously, but it's good to be back. And I want to kick things off with some highlights from the Packers' victory over the Rams. Let's start with the Packers' leaders in that game. First off, Jordan Love was 20 for 26 for 228 yards, 1 touchdown, and 0 interceptions. That's all good news there. Aaron Jones had 20 carries for 73 yards and a touchdown. Luke Musgrave was the big receiver here. Only 3 receptions, but 51 yards and a touchdown. It was good to see that. Also on the defensive side, Keyshawn Nixon had a kick return for 51 yards. That was really cool to see. I thought he was going to go all the way there for a minute.
Me too. That brought back memories from, I think it was against Dallas last season when he just fired up and decided to take one to the house. And it was Coach LaFleur's 50th victory as the coach of the Packers. It doesn't seem like 50 games already.
Well, 50 wins. If you count the losses, it's been a lot more games than that.
That's a solid point. It doesn't even seem like that. Well, Congratulations, Coach. Shout out to Devondre Campbell. Getting that fumble recovery was absolutely clutch. Huge momentum booster as well. And overall, I'd say it was our defense that really kept us in this game.
Absolutely. I mean, that's one of the things I mentioned down below, too. I didn't see your note here, but the defense was looking really solid. I mean, granted, they were up against a backup quarterback, but still, they kept them out of the end zone for the entire game, man. The Rams never once got in the end zone. That was awesome. And it was pretty impressive considering how banged up the secondary has been, not to mention Rasul Douglas being traded to Buffalo. It's just they're doing some pretty impressive things considering how young this team is in general. But on the defensive side of the ball, it's been great. And we had a couple rookies out there. Carrington Valentine, cornerback, had 3 passes deflected. And also Anthony Johnson, the safety, intercepted a pass deflected by Jair Alexander, which set up a 4th quarter field goal. So 2 huge rookie performances this past week. And I've just really liked to see what I saw of the defense, even if it wasn't a top-tier offense.
But still, everybody's a professional, and we've been banged up, and we'll take the wins when we can get them. And it's great to see some of the rookies finally getting into a bit of a groove now that we're around the midway point of the season. Now's the time.
Also, Aaron Jones snapped the first half lack of end zone scores for the Packers this week. He had a 3-yard run early in the second quarter. This was the first time any Packer made it in the end zone in the first half since September of this year, September 17th, when they lost to the Falcons. So it was really good to get that taken care of because that needed to be taken care of a long time ago. But it's just good to see Aaron Jones getting in the end zone again.
I think getting healthy and then being fed the ball, you put those 2 things together, Scott, and you smell Packers victories. And another rookie, tight end Luke Musgrave, getting his first ever touchdown was sweet. I'm super happy for the guy.
Absolutely. It was a 20-yard pass to boot, and he had to run for a little bit there too. Love seeing that he's getting a score, and my fantasy team particularly like that as well. I picked up Musgrave this past week, and wow, what a catch that was. So real happy there. Got to talk about some lowlights, too. There were 2 fumbles. Each took place during the Packers' first 2 drives of the second half. Thankfully, the Rams weren't able to capitalize on either thanks to the Packers' defense, but kind of makes you wonder what the score would have been without the turnovers and the other thing that you're going to be talking about here in just a couple of minutes. That game could have been a lot more lopsided.
Oh, no doubt. Because those penalties, boneheaded penalties, that just kept us from getting a lot of more momentum than what we had. I mean, Runyon called for being offsides on offense on 2 different, quote unquote, successful 4th and 1 plays, effectively killing those plays. I mean, granted, one of those penalties was technically called incorrectly against Josh Nijman, but the fact that I believe it really was Runyon that had done that, those were boneheaded, and he's not even a rookie.
Right. And man, I watched that replay a couple times. I don't know how those guys caught that. It was so like a hair over the line, man. It was just, I mean, it took me a couple times to actually see it, because the first time I was like, I don't see any issues there. It was just bizarre. Not sure what else to say about that.
Very much so. And I've seen cases where other teams have lined up much further along the line before the ball's hiked and not get called. So, you know, every ref is different. Every set of eyeballs is different. Every circumstance. And that one really
Any given Sunday. Mm-hmm.
Or Monday. And occasionally a Thursday. And come December, Saturday. Luckily, it's not like the COVID year when we had Tuesdays and Wednesdays and occasionally a Friday. It was very confusing. And Unfortunately, Scott, we got even more fresh new injuries this week. Kenny Clark left the game with an injured right before halftime with a shoulder injury. He doesn't seem to think that it's going to be too serious. And then later in the game, Josh Nijman left with a sore back. Those are real iffy. You never know what's going to happen there. And potentially the biggest loss, Christian Watson. He had a chest and back injury of some sort, was being evaluated for a concussion. I think I heard just a couple hours ago that the concussion came out negative, but he still has the other injuries, and we need him. But we're going to carry on. Next man up, right, Scott?
Absolutely. I mean, it does hurt, because I think he's going to be out for quite a while. If all 3 of those things are going on, I think it'll be quite a while. But I mean, I'm silver lining and all that. He has made some clutch catches, but you know, Jordan Love doesn't have like a go-to receiver. I mean, Rodgers always had Devontae Adams that, you know, he just focused on all the time. Love isn't falling into that habit of having just that one receiver that he's relying on. He's got such a young offense that he's spreading the ball, which is, you know, a good thing for us, especially when the key receiver is gone. So I think there's still good things to be happening with the passing game there.
Yeah, and at this point, any one of these young guys could turn out to be his go-to receiver as they get more chemistry. We'll have to wait and see what happens there.
Absolutely. Well, that's what we thought about this game. Let's see what the listener said. If you would like to be a part of the upcoming podcast episodes by either recording your voice in your phone or computer and emailing them and recording to feedback@PackersFanPodcast.com, or you can also call the PFP voicemail at +1 920 3PACK-GO. As always, the deadline for your calls is Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And when you call, please be sure to include your best Go Pack Goes for us to use as part of the new PFP community outro that Wayne is putting together. Also, feel free to send in an audio message with just some great Go Pack Goes, because we love hearing those as well.
Hey everyone, this is Megan. I'm going to quote Wayne and say, a win is a win is a win. That was a great feeling. I have mixed feelings about the game. Obviously, it's great to come away with a W. We were able to put some drives together, which was really nice to see. I think at the end of the day, it all came down to utilizing the run game. I know people talk about that all the time, but we started from the start of the game. Like we started running the ball. I thought that 20 attempts for Jones was a beautiful thing, and he must be feeling better, and Matt is getting his head on straight, because I felt like last year and the year before, we like, one game would run the ball, the next game wouldn't. The next game we would, the next game we wouldn't. And like, here's to hoping that next week we continue to run the ball. That's all I have to say about that. It was really fun to watch Aaron Jones run again. And like, it felt like a throwback to watch him run like that. And it shouldn't be like that. We should see it every game. A couple other things to say. I thought Luft played a really good game. He was on point. I felt like he played really well. It was tough going up against Aaron Donald at times, and our O-line is clearly kind of a sight for sore eyes at times, but we all know that. Let's see. Nixon was really fun to watch in both of those returns. It kind of sucked the way the penalties took back some really good plays. As per usual, we started the game off just right on par with the penalty right away, and I sound like a broken record talking about penalties, but it is what it is. I want to say props to Watson for that big play that he made. Reed had a few of, I feel like, still the biggest props. And I know, like, we scored 33 points, but they scored 3. And so that leads me to say that the biggest props goes to our defense. Allowing just those 3 points, I feel like we would be so lost without them. I mean, I don't feel like we would be. It was awesome to see Jonathan Owens have another good play this week after last week. And then Dre, of course, was there to recover the fumble or the strip sack, whatever. He got the ball. I was kind of on pins and needles. It was just like every play. Is it going to stand? Is there going to be a late flag? Is there going to be something? Is there going to be this? Is there going to be that? But at the end of the day, we came away with a win, and that has to feel good. 5th time beating the Rams in a row at Lambeau. And I hope we can bring it and like use this as really positive momentum for next week. Like Jair said recently, we need to win out. I think he believes that we will win out. I believe in it. I believe in the team. I want to say I'll believe it when I see it, but I'm just going to have faith, have the confidence in the guys. This has to be a really big boost for momentum, for coaching, for players. And I hope we can kind of use what went well in this game and keep bringing that to every single game and address the O-line. Like, it really, really sucks not having Dave. And I hope Kenny Clark isn't too injured I hope he can play against Pittsburgh next week and yada, 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 more and more injuries. But we'll hopefully have more guys coming back and, like Matt will say, next man up. So everyone has to be prepared. Bring on Pittsburgh. It'll be away. So let's use this to go on winning streak for the rest of the season. Let's go!
Thank you, Megan, for your voicemail. As always, it's great to hear from you. To me, it's really sad that we have to, this early in the season, talk about winning out or running the table. I hate this come from behind mentality that we've got to have for the season, but that's exactly where we are. And to also agree with Megan, the penalties, the worry, like anytime anything good happens, you just are expecting to see yellow laundry on the field.
I know.
It is so maddening. It's like, it's stressful. Like you're on pins and needles, just kind of expecting it to happen. And I just really hate that feeling. But like you say all the time, Wayne, win is a win is a win. And hey, look what happens when we utilize a run game.
Amazing.
Just saying.
Amazing. We can score some points. Oh, I'm so thankful Aaron Jones is feeling better because I think we do want to run the ball more. And like you've said a few times this season, Scott, we need to face it. We're a running football team. So let's run the ball. It was going really well. And even A.J. Dillon was doing great. But I agree with Megan. It's like we have to wait a couple seconds to find out if there's a flag before we allow ourselves to celebrate some great plays.
Yeah, that's got to stop. That has just got to stop.
And how about Jair channeling his inner Wayne Henderson with his statement of, I think we can win all the rest of the games. I don't see why we can't win all of them. Isn't that fantastic?
Why not? Yeah.
Wayne, well, as you can see, I lost a little bit of my voice at the game this week. It's Alex again calling in, second week in a row. And, saw some good things out of this team today. Would have liked to see them be able to punch in a little bit better in the red zone, kicking some field goals there. But, I think small baby steps improvement from last week. Got a pretty good Steelers team on the road next week. So we'll be tested pretty good, I think. And I I think next week you'll have a really good idea of what this team's really made of. If the week prior, going into this week, if the changes that Matt made and the defense played phenomenal, if it's going to stick, or if those changes are just few and far between and it was a kind of a fluke game with a backup quarterback for the Rams. So really excited to see what this team can do, and let's see if Jair is right. If we can win 10 in a row, that'd be pretty sweet. Thanks, guys, and go Pack, go.
Go Pack, go indeed, Alex. Again, with the Jair Alexander win out. Wouldn't that be fantastic? It's the most improbable thing, but hey, anything's possible. But Alex, we really love your call. Even losing your voice at Lambeau again, that seems to happen often. I need to get back to Lambeau so I can lose my voice in person at the game. Next year, got to make it happen. Got to make it happen. And of course, with the NFL draft officially coming to Green Bay in April of 2025, I need to start making plans. That is for sure.
Yeah, definitely, man.
Alex, you made a great point about us being tested in Pittsburgh on the road this week and how we will probably find out what we really have.
Yeah, this was our get right game, right? Pittsburgh is not going to be a get right game. That's going to be a test. See if we can do it.
Anything's possible. Come on, I know that they have a pretty good record right now, so we'll see, and we'll preview the game a little later on. And I'm with you, Alex. I'd like to see a little more production in the red zone. Bring it on.
For sure.
Go, 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 Pack, go. Oh, boy, does it feel good to be able to say Happy Victory Monday. It's been 6 weeks since we've been able to say that. Oh, a win is a win, but I think this one meant a lot more to us fans and especially to those guys battling it out on the field. This is a building block. It's a confidence and morale booster, and it was much needed. You're talking about a month and a half in between wins. Not a good scenario. Talk about not good scenarios, that offensive line. I know it's patchwork, but still, they took 4 sacks. I think a couple of those sacks were on Love. He should have been able to scramble and have the pocket presence to get out of there. He really needs to protect his body because if you look around the NFL, starting quarterbacks are going down like crazy. Got Justin Fields, Daniel Jones, Matthew Stafford, Rodgers, Tannehill, Anthony Richardson, Kirk Cousins, Desmond Ridder. That's 8 starting quarterbacks out of 32 teams. That's 25% of the starting quarterbacks. That's not a good thing. Also, his long ball he still needs to work on that. I think if they get into the practice facility and just get their timing down, I think because we've seen overthrows and we've seen underthrows on those long balls. And as Aaron Peterson said yesterday in the group chat, he may be overcompensating because he was overthrowing his receivers, and now maybe he just needs to dial it up one more notch. Red zone, 1 for 4. That's no bueno. And of course, the penalties. Again, the penalties, the indiscipline. It's no surprise that we lead the league in penalties. We're tied with Dallas for 60 penalties in 8 games that we played. The turnovers didn't help our momentum. The drops, I think I counted 3. Aaron Jones had 1. Watson had 1. Musgraves, I think, had another 1. Speaking of Christian Watson, awesome clutch catch at the end of the game there. But, of course, unfortunately, it looks like he's injured, a back injury, maybe a rib injury, and then a possible concussion, I think is what Scott said. And it may be time to move on from Christian Watson because he's been injured so much in the first 2 years he's been on the team. I'm not sure if his body can take being in the NFL. Some good things. The defense. Oh, the interception. There's plenty of batted passes. They only allowed 3 points the entire game. I know Scott loved this. The run game. 26 passes compared to 38 rushes. And, well, looky here. 20-3. Love, speaking of Love again, on the good side, he looked a lot more like he did in weeks 1 through 3, going through his progressions, being calm. It was so good to see a smile on his face after that win, though. It was good to see another jet sweep. it was good to see some more wrinkles in that offensive scheming, and those wrinkles worked. If it wasn't for the penalties and the turnovers and those drops, the Packers should have scored in the mid-30s at least, I think. But we won. We made it out. Coming up, we have Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh. I'm going to have to go for a loss here. Steelers 24, Packers 13. And just a quick little update for the PFP Fantasy Football League. It's pretty tight. Scott's right now at the top. Looks like he's going to pull out the win this week, which would put him at 7-2. And there's 3 teams at the bottom, 13 Lizards, Anaheim Browns, and whoever this 4-time wager a fun guy is. They currently have a record of 2-6. I think a couple of those teams may win this week, pending the Monday Night Football game. But that's still only 4 games behind the leader. And in this year's format, we're doing the best record in the regular season instead of doing playoffs. So there's still time to turn it around for the guys at the bottom and for the guys at the top. Look out. Somebody's going to be coming for you. That's all I have from here. Looking forward to Pittsburgh. I hope I'm wrong on my prediction. Anyways, go, Pack, go!
Thanks so much, Dan, and thanks for the shout out on the top of the fantasy football league. I'm actually doing quite well in fantasy football in all 3 of my leagues. 2 of my 3 I'm winning. And in another one, I'm working my way back up. So,
4-time wager fungi, like a mushroom.
That was great.
What's the deal,
great.
Dan?
Dan mentioned the jet sweep play. That was really cool. One of the things I appreciated that kind of goes along with that is that we weren't trying any trick plays this time. Stop doing trick plays with a young offense. I think the closest we ever got was that touchdown pass to Musgrave, which was, fake. He kind of looked right, or he looked left, spun around to the right the wrong way, which freaked me out for a second because he spun the wrong way and then turned around and fired it. And that's where I realized it was actually a design play for Musgrave. I was not expecting that. But that was the closest we got to a trick play, and it wasn't even really a trick play. So I am not surprised at all that we've got the most penalties. It's just insane. I mean, I know we're tied with Dallas.
Yeah,
but,
we don't have the most. We're tied.
We're tied for the most. So
sad.
It is very sad. We're talking about the offensive line allowing 4 sacks, and I know Megan said something negatively about that too. But I understand 4 sacks is awful. But if you watch those plays, or not those plays, but the other plays. Love has plenty of time back there, guys. Like, he's considering that Bakhtiari's not there, and this is a young team. They're most of the time giving him plenty of time and opportunities to throw the ball. Obviously, the sacks coming through are going to happen. That's going to happen. But I don't know, man. How are you feeling about the O-line?
Well, I don't like any sacks at all.
Well,
And I think Dan and Megan are. We're just worried about the health of our quarterback, especially since he doesn't always slide, like you've called out before.
Yeah, that's true.
He's not invincible. He is young, so he's fairly sturdy. But if 25% of the starting quarterbacks are injured, like Dan said, we don't want ours to be another one of those numbers. There was one play during the game where I thought we had more time than I've seen a quarterback have in months. I'm like, wow, where is everybody? Jordan's just back there looking around, waiting for somebody.
Yeah, how is nobody getting open in that 15 seconds that he's gotten back there in the pocket? It's just kind of nuts. What do you feel about Dan saying that maybe time to move on from Christian Watson?
I'm a bit shocked about that.
Me too.
I mean, granted, Christian has had a lot more injuries in a short span of time, but maybe he'll get those out of the way and he'll be back stronger and better than ever.
All it'll take is one of those clutch plays that he pulls in, and everyone will be back in his good graces again. But yeah, he is kind of injury prone. And we know how Green Bay loves to hang on to injury prone players, Bakhtiari. So, I could see that being a problem. I understand what he's saying, but what are our other options at this point? Are we going to look for somebody else, or are we going to hope that one of our younger players is going to be the next big thing for us? That's a tough question to answer.
That is a tough question, Dan. Thanks for sharing that one.
We also got some email. This one says, "Hey, Wayne and Scott, this is Caleb, Kathy, and Roy Fisher from Green Bay, Wisconsin. Boy, what a good game we had against the Rams. Although we won, we had a few bad calls, especially with offsides on the offensive line. It seemed like there were a few horrible calls they should have been called on that they shouldn't have been called on us. But we are still happy the way Jordan Love performed and how well Aaron Jones and the whole team showed up. Until next time, Packer Nation, this is CCR saying, go Pack, go, bleed green and gold till dead and cold."
Nice. Thanks for that. Now, it's time to check in on our weekly poll question. You can find it in our Facebook group at PackersCommunity.com, as well as on Twitter X. I'll just call it both names. Makes it easy. At Packers Fan Pod. The question this week is, how much does a win like this over the Rams boost your confidence in the Packers for the rest of the season? Does it make you feel a lot better with how we're going to do? Does it give you a little more confidence? Or absolutely no change at all? Or for whatever reason, the penalties actually make you feel even worse?
I got to go with the easy answer here. I feel pretty much the same. I went into this game expecting it to be a loss, so I was pleasantly surprised. But I also understand that we were playing against a Rams defense that is not very good, and we were playing against a Rams offense that had a backup quarterback that weren't expected to do quite well. If we beat Pittsburgh next week, you have my attention. But I feel pretty much the same as of right now. How about you?
I'll be checking in with you Sunday at around 1:11 p.m. Pacific time after the game. We'll see how it is. I would love to be able to say that it has me feeling a lot better confidence-wise, but I am feeling a little more confidence. Like we're getting healthier, we're getting into a groove. I mean, if we do beat Pittsburgh, then I expect to move up to feeling a lot better, at least until Thanksgiving when we play the Lions. But here's the votes that came in when you combine all the votes on Twitter, X, as well as Facebook. 57% overwhelmingly voted they feel the same. Luckily, nobody said they're actually feeling worse in the confidence department. 35% went with a little more confidence, and 8% of the voters are feeling a lot more confidence.
There you go. We had some comments on the poll of the Packers Fan Podcast Facebook group as well. First off, Don says, "I saw some positives, but still too many mistakes." David Newman chimed in, said, "Nice to see a win, but played against a not very good Rams team with a backup quarterback who has only made a few starts. They should have blown this team out and done it much quicker than they did. Once again, penalties are killing this team, as well as untimely mistakes like drops, turnovers. I think the Rams had a real chance to win that with a more competent quarterback today. Still a young team. That 6 to 7 wins would be a decent season to build off of." Fair points there. Dan Dowler echoes David's statement, saying, "Without the penalties and turnovers, this could have easily been a game seeing the Packers scoring 30-plus points, but the youth and lack of discipline once again reared its head." And I got to agree with Dan there, too.
Rearing of the ugly head again. And Tyler Seaver said, "I think this was a confidence booster that the team needed. The defense looked good. I was at the game, and the energy for this team was very low until the defense stepped it up." That is a solid point. And I got to say, even hearing the crowd through the television set, that is the most boisterous and loud and excited the Lambeau crowd has sounded since week 1 when we dismantled the Bears.
I agree. It was really cool to see them getting back into it and jumping around and dancing, and it was pretty cool. So good to see.
And on Twitter X, Joel says, "Whoever is only feeling the same is a hater."
I'm not a hater, man.
I don't know.
I'm not a hater.
That's not what Joel says.
All right, moving on. Everyone loves a great story, and we want to know how you became a fan of the 13-time NFL champion Green Bay Packers. And we want to share your Packers fandom origin story here on the show. Call us over at +1 920 372 2546, or you can email your audio recording to feedback@PackersFanPodcast.com. There are some also great conversations happening in the Packers Fan Podcast Facebook group right now. Check them all out. Join in, especially for our live game chat section. That is always a lot of fun to be a part of.
And as the season goes on, it's going to get even more fiery in there. I just love it. And all of your calls, your emails, your comments, all of your support are such a big part of the Packers Fan Podcast. Thank you for that. And again, join the Facebook community at packerscommunity.com. And now, your 3-5 Green Bay Packers are going on the road to Pittsburgh to play the 5-3 Steelers Sunday, November 12th at 12 noon Central Time. And the Packers, as is tradition, lead the series against the Steelers 20 wins to 16 losses, including, of course, our 31-25 victory over Pittsburgh in Super Bowl XLV, also known as Super Bowl 45.
Or known as Super Bowl Twitter LV.
What? Twitter LV? What's that?
You said XLV, so I...
That joke. I need a bell that goes ding, 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 ding. Wow, Scott. I'm a little slow. The time change here in America has me thrown off. Oh, our first meeting goes way back to October 15th, 1933. And on that day, the Packers beat the Pittsburgh Pirates 47-0. Can I get a go, Pack, go?
Go, Pack, go indeed.
And although not a high-scoring affair, Brett Favre made his first career start for the Packers September 27th, 1992, and that was against the Steelers. Brett Favre and the Pack won the game 17-3. That brings back memories of the game just the other day. I was definitely watching the game that day. I had to see what this new kid trying to fill in for the injured Don Majkowski could do, and pretty good.
I agree. I think it is worth noting that the Packers have not won in Pittsburgh since 1970.
Whoa.
So this would be a good time to break that streak. And one thing that Packers fans don't like to discuss when it comes to the Steelers is that they, along with the New England Patriots, do have more Super Bowl wins than any other team with 6. Sure, the Packers are the 13-time NFL champions, but so they still got that. But when it comes to Super Bowls, they only have 4, so that makes the rivalry a bit more interesting for me. The Packers definitely have some catching up to do, for sure.
Well, the weather in Pittsburgh's not going to be bad at all at this time of year. 49 degrees, cloudy at kickoff. That's about 9 degrees Celsius, so should not be any issues.
I agree. Well, let's go on to my keys to a Packers victory. There's going to be some repeats here just because, they actually listened to me a little bit this past week. So my number one strategy is prepare for a hefty defense. This has the potential to be the Packers' offense's greatest challenge yet. The Steelers are historically known as having a tough defense, and this year is no different. Jordan Love should expect a lot of blitzes and give up on the deep ball this week, and instead capitalize on quick slants, jet sweep, and throwing to running backs when he's not following my number 2 strategy, which is, and I feel like I'm repeating myself, but run the ball. The Packers had 26 passes versus 38 carries this week, and what do you know? They won the game. Just saying that if it's not broke, don't fix it. And especially with what I said earlier about the Steelers' defense, which is stellar with the secondary, please listen to me again this week and focus on the run game. And lastly, defenses win games. The Packers, believe it or not, rank in the top 10 for yards allowed per game this season, which makes them a bit underrated in that regard. If they're going to stand a chance this game, it's going to need to be won by the defense. 3 and outs is the name of the game to keep them off the field as much as possible and allow Love to do whatever he can against the steel curtain that is the Steelers.
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much, Scott. I am into that. I can't wait for this game. I think it's the 3rd 10 a.m. start Pacific time in a row, so I'm getting accustomed to this.
I know. I'm getting a little accustomed to it as well. I'm waiting for that. I got to look at the schedule, but I love these noon games for sure. Our 2023 season wager, Oh Fun. This is where we predict the games each week and keep track of who has the better score. My prediction last week was a Rams win of 17-16. Wayne predicted a Green Bay win 17-16. Green Bay did end up winning the game 20-3, so the differential does not matter for us. Wayne gets the point. And over with the PFP listener section for last week's game, we had 3 people that predicted a Green Bay win. David Newman, Jay Walters, and Dan Dyler all predicted a win against the Rams. But Dan Dyler had the lowest differential of 11 points, so he gets a point this week, which means that he is now tied for second place with Brett Connor and... No. I apologize. Dan Dyler now has 2 wins, which puts him in second place, and then we have a tie for third place We have just Brett Connor in third place with 1 win. Boy, if I could get my stuff together this week, that'd be awesome, wouldn't it?
And I'm catching up to you, Scott.
Yes, we are now 1 point closer. So Wayne has 2 points. I've got 3. So I got to work on extending my lead again this week. And I guess I'm going to kick things off. I'm actually with Dan. I'm going to predict a Steelers win this week. Pittsburgh 23, Green Bay 14. I think the defense is just going to be too much for this young offense. What's your prediction for the win score this week, Wayne?
You're assuming I'm predicting a win.
I always assume you're going to predict a win.
And you're predicting correctly. We will win this game, and I'll be tied with Scott Clark for the Wager-O Fun. Coming from behind. The Packers are going to win, low-scoring affair, but we're going to break that streak and finally win in Pittsburgh. 17-14. May not be exciting, may not be pretty, but we'll have more points when time runs out. I believe and hope.
Well, I hope you were right, sir. As much as I would love to beat you in the Wager of Fun, I would much rather have a Packers win for sure. Here are the listeners' picks for week number 10 on the Wager of Fun. David Newman says Pittsburgh 17, Green Bay 10. Garrett Stritzel says Pittsburgh 20, Green Bay 10. And Jay Walters predicts that Green Bay is going to win 21-20.
Yeah. And
Dan Dowler, we already heard, predicts that Pittsburgh is going to win 24-13.
Wow, everybody's thinking we're going to lose, except for Jay. He's with it. But How about Beth? She is calling for a huge victory. Green Bay 35, Pittsburgh 17, and I like to hear that.
Ooh, that is not going to happen.
It could happen.
I would love to see it happen.
If that happens, Beth, that's going to be fantastic. I'm going to have my eyes glued to the tube. The NFC North, we're clawing our way back into it. The Lions are 6-2 because I believe they're on their bye week this week. Vikings are 5-4. I can't believe they won that game. You just can't count on anything anymore. The Packers won. We moved up to 3-5. Bears 2-7.
We had some other interesting NFL happenings this week as well. Wayne already mentioned it, but Minnesota won against the Falcons with their third-string quarterback. Not their backup quarterback, but the third-string quarterback, and that actually landed Dobbs with the starting position against the Saints next week. So, man, kudos to that guy. He might have just got his big break.
I believe he did. And it's very interesting that the Raiders, after firing their general manager and their head coach and benching Jimmy Garoppolo, that the Raiders would come out and absolutely demolish the New York Giants. I mean, granted, the Giants aren't all that good, but what do you think makes a team respond so positively to this utter chaos around them?
I mean, it has to be whatever was going on in that locker room and just the attitude towards the coaching staff. I mean, just to be able to turn around and come back, I mean, sometimes change is good, and that sure is a whole lot of change. So maybe that's exactly what that team needed to kick things into gear. I'm just glad they, didn't do it before they played us, make that game worse. So
that would have been insane. And did you see how the Cincinnati Bengals, they convinced most of the fans that were coming to the game to wear the appropriate orange or black jersey of shirt based on which seat section they were in. And you can clearly see the Bengals stripes showing up when looking at the stadium as a whole. To me, it looked fantastic, and I wish the Packers would have thought of doing that with green and gold in particular sections of Lambeau Field. I just got to say, well played, Bengals, because that looked pretty spectacular on TV.
It did look pretty great. I was actually really impressed they were able to pull that off. I don't know how you would coordinate that. Holy cow, that's got to be so much coordination and a lot of assumptions that you're fan. Plus, there's got to be a lot of people that aren't Bengals fans. You know what I mean? There's it's just kind of nuts. But also, Cincinnati surprised me by beating Buffalo 24-18. I call it karma for taking Rasul Douglas from us. I'm just saying.
That's what happened. Okay.
Exactly. I'd like to remind everybody else about my other podcast, my The Gaming Outsider, which releases a new episode every week, and this week was no different. This Wednesday, we're releasing the latest, which has us doing our monthly ritual of answering questions from the community, and this month I did something kind of fun. I asked my 4th grade students to submit questions, which was a lot of fun to go through those. We also talked about a brand new game called Alan Wake 2, which I can't stop playing. It is very creepy, very interesting storytelling, and had one moment that might be my favorite moment in video games this entire year.
Whoa.
Be sure to listen to that. You can hear my show at the same places you listen to this one, and you can find out our website at thegamingoutsider.com.
Great plan indeed. And my other podcast is finally almost close to coming back. It is November, and later on this month, Doctor Who is returning for 3 spectacular specials, basically, because it's the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who. And now here in the States, it's going to be on Disney Plus. Still in the UK, of course, BBC, where it belongs. It's going to be fantastic. So my podcast is called Don't Blink. You can find it at don'tblinkpodcast.com. Subscribe now. Be ready. Me and my co-host Jada are super excited because I don't know the last time we were able to podcast about a Doctor Who episode. So it's coming back. Get ready, Scott. Get ready. Oh, man, thank you so much for giving back to your Packers Fan Podcast via Patreon. We really appreciate it. Details on how you can become a patron, maybe even get some fun swag, perks, and other things like that. All the details are at packersfanpodcast.com/giveback. Jay Walters, coming in hot at the AR-12 legendary level. Thank you, and Go Pack Go for your support of the podcast. And Captain Pack Sparrow's alter ego, Dan Dyler. Go Pack Go, and arigato gozaimasu for your Jordan Love-inspired Patreon support. We really, really appreciate it.
Bless you. Our classic Brett Favre level supporters definitely get some Go Pack Goes and thank yous as well. Scott Boers just joined in. Welcome and Go Pack Go. Miguel Ramirez from the Opposites Attract podcast also, and Colm Nolan from Ireland. Also, Curly Lambeau level Go Pack Goes and thank yous to Joe Christensen and Hank Davis from the TPE Network. If you are able and feel led to give back to the show, please check out all the details at packersfanpodcast.com/giveback. As a reminder, we are the Unofficial Packers Fan Podcast. We are not yet affiliated with the NFL or the Green Bay Packers, but we sure would love to be if you guys are listening. Please tell your friends about the podcast and let them know that Wayne and Scott look forward to having them as a new listener.
And follow us on Twitter X at PackersFanPod. Follow Scott at GoCastScott and follow me at Wayne Henderson. And here's community member Dan Dyler as the team heads on out to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
All right, this is Dan, a.k.a. Pack Sparrow, and Brett.
Coming in from Tottenham, all the way from London, England. And this is the Go Pack Go.
Go, 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 go.
Go Pack Go!